predictions, sometimes but not always based on total war with nuclear arsenals at Cold War highs, received contemporary criticism. 4. On the other hand, some 1980s governmental predictions, such as FEMA's CRP-2B and NATO's carte blanche, have received criticism from groups such as the Federation of American Scientists for being overly optimistic. CRP-2B, for instance, infamously predicted that 80% of Americans would survive a nuclear exchange with the Soviet Union, a figure that neglected nuclear war's impacts on healthcare infrastructure, the food supply, and the ecosystem, and assumed that all major cities could be successfully evacuated within 3-5 days. 130. A number of Cold War publications advocated preparations that could purportedly enable a large proportion of civilians to survive even a total nuclear war. Among the most famous of these is Nuclear War Survival Skills. 131. To avoid injury and death from a nuclear weapon's heat flash and blast effects, the two most far-ranging prompt effects of nuclear weapons, school children were taught to duck and cover by the early Cold War film of the same name. Such advice is once again being given in case of nuclear terrorist attacks. 132. Prussian blue, or radiogardase, is stockpiled in the U.S., along with potassium iodide and DPTA, as pharmaceuticals useful in treating internal exposure to harmful radioisotopes in fallout. 133. Publications on adapting to a changing diet and supplying nutritional food sources following a nuclear war with particular focus on agricultural radioecology, include Nutrition in the Post-Attack Environment by the IND Corporation. 134. The British government developed a public alert system for use during a nuclear attack with the expectation of a 4-minute warning before detonation. The United States expected a warning time of anywhere from half an hour for land-based missiles to less than 3 minutes for submarine-based weapons. Many countries maintain plans for continuity of government following a nuclear attack or similar disasters. These arrange from a designated survivor, intended to ensure the survival of some form of government leadership, to the Soviet dead hand system, which allows for retaliation even if all Soviet leadership were destroyed. Nuclear submarines are given letters of last resort, orders on what action to take in the event that an enemy nuclear strike has destroyed the government. A number of other countries around the world have taken significant efforts to maximize their survival prospects in the event of large calamities, both natural and man-made. For example, metro stations in Pyongyang, North Korea, were constructed 110 meters, 360 feet, below ground, and were designed to serve as nuclear shelters in the event of war, with each station entrance built with thick steel blast doors. 135, 136. An example of privately funded fallout shelters is the Arc 2 shelter in Ontario, Canada, and autonomous shelters have been constructed with an emphasis on post-war networking and reconstruction. 137. In Switzerland, the majority of homes have an underground blast and fallout shelter. The country has an overcapacity of such shelters and can accommodate slightly more than the nation's population size. 138, 139. While the nuclear fallout shelters described above are the ideal long-term protection methods against dangerous radiation exposure in the event of a nuclear catastrophe, it is also necessary to have mobile protection equipment for medical and security personnel to safely assist in containment, evacuation, and many other necessary public safety objectives which ensue as a result of nuclear detonation. There are many basic shielding strategies used to protect against the deposition of radioactive material from external radiation environments. Respirators that protect against internal deposition are used to prevent the inhalation and ingestion of radioactive material, and dermal protective equipment which is used to protect against the deposition of material on external structures like skin, hair, and clothing. While these protection strategies do slightly reduce the exposure, they provide almost no protection from externally penetrating gamma radiation, which is the cause of acute radiation syndrome and can be extremely lethal in high dosages. Naturally, shielding the entire body from high-energy gamma radiation is optimal, but the required mass to provide adequate attenuation makes functional movement nearly impossible. Recent scientific studies have shown the feasibility of partial body shielding as a viable protection strategy against externally penetrating gamma radiation. The concept is based in providing sufficient attenuation to only the most radiosensitive organs and tissues in efforts to defer the onset of acute radiation syndrome, the most immediate threat to humans from high doses of gamma radiation. Acute radiation syndrome is a result of irreversible bone marrow damage from high-energy radiation exposure. Due to the regenerative property of hematopoietic stem cells found in bone marrow, it is only necessary to protect enough bone marrow to repopulate the exposed areas of the body with the shielded supply. Because 50% of the body's supply of bone marrow is stored in the pelvic region, which is also in close proximity to other radiosensitive organs in the abdomen, the lower torso is a logical choice as the primary target for protection. 140. In fiction, nuclear warfare and weapons are staple elements of speculative fiction. See also Air Force Global Strike Command, Basic Encyclopedia, Broken-backed War Theory, Cuban Missile Crisis, Doomsday Clock, Global Catastrophic Risk, Human Extinction, International Luxembourg Forum on Preventing Nuclear Catastrophe, List of CBRN warfare forces, List of nuclear close calls, List of states with nuclear weapons, Mount Yamato, Nuclear arms race, Nuclear blackout, Nuclear briefcase, Nuclear disarmament, Nuclear famine, Nuclear holocaust, Nuclear terrorism, Nuclear weapon, Nuclear weapons and the United States, Nuclear weapons debate, Nuclear winter, People's Liberation Army Rocket Force, Permissive Action Link, Prevention of Nuclear Catastrophe, Transition to War, World War III, Nuclear Technology Portal, References.
Good. Let's stop the video. And delete. Yes, the video's just 2 splits. Got 2 minutes. So it's so I need to charge the camcorder. I need something to drink. So I will start charging the camcorder and upload the 6 videos. I do this because I like to learning something new about all kind of subjects. I have to sit alone in my apartment my whole life. So the last 20 years I've not been reading any books. I'm not reading any books for like 20 years or more. So I like to start reading again. So now I read Wikipedia and I read comics. Yes, I read comics but that's one year ago. I need Donald Duck, but that's not really reading. I have a lot of comics. Like all this is Donald Duck comics. I got more Western comics. Western agents, love CIA and war. Comics like this, small, but that's mostly war. Second World War. All kind of comics like this and more here. Western comics. So I need to read it. But let's stop the video. I was thinking about to go to the garbage. I need to get this out of my apartment. This old bitch. But I will start charging my camcorder.